Now, as always, on Tuesdays about now, we touch base with a guy who is very grounded and can help us all get that same way, a map through life. Dr. John Braccio is on with us. Doc, it's great to have you on your morning wake up once again. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mike. And this is, I think, a day we can say carpe diem, seize the day. The topic here, let getting older be an exciting voyage. And that, I think that's really a great way to look as we get older, okay? A lot of times people look at it all negatively, and that's just not really what we want to do. So we live in an age where ageism and getting older is seen as something to be dreaded, avoided at all costs. We really can easily see this as people rush to plastic surgeons and the latest cosmetics advertised on TV to keep us young and ever younger yet. This is unfortunate because more and more research is showing that persons who see getting older, that has advantages with things to look forward to, are not only happier, but live longer than those who do not. So this doesn't diminish the reality of physical decline and death. No, not at all. But the focus here is on living positively as we get older. In the proverbial view, it is better to see the glass half filled rather than half empty. If I can, I'd like to talk about the following ways, our way to look. These are the ways to look as we're getting older. And I do have one, not tongue-in-cheek, because there's some really truth to it. The ancient Roman Cicero, his classic work on old age, one of the reasons he gave for enjoying old age is you don't need to worry about dying young. I guess that's really true. If you've lived a long time, you don't have to. Well, that's actually very true, okay? And then two, we recognize our mortality, can have us cherish each day we live more and more and more. I think that's really critical, I was just happy yesterday listening to I Will Drink the Wine by Frank Sinatra. One of those, you just kind of take life and you kind of move forward. Whatever's there, you just enjoy it, okay? As much as you can.
Yeah.
And you have more leisure time. You can, that you can think and do things. You can learn new things. You can nurture and rekindle long-term friendships and family connections. Often as a person gets older, they realize that there isn't necessarily going to be year after year, decade after decade to see people. So you just kind of rekindle, you nurture, you call old friends, you make connections. You strengthen the love with spouse, partner, and children. You strengthen. This is a time that you can do things like that. Often people are so busy in their lives, they kind of lose track of things. Well, this is a time that you can really do that. And you can also make amends for mistreatment of others in our past or even present.
Oh, boy.
We can share it, and that's a good thing to do. And then share the lessons we've learned in life. We tend to think of that, but it's really true. I know my dad actually, he was born in 1895 and 1973. We spent hours interviewing him on what he had learned as an Italian immigrant coming here in 1903, 8 years old. And we have all that. Those are all things to share. Maybe almost 250 pages just of him talking, and we have all that down. And when you can share these lessons, you can share what you've learned. It's really great for each generation that comes along. And you can only do that if you've lived long enough to really have these experiences. And then also, I think you have to focus on what you remember rather than what you forgot. And also remember, a 20 or 30-year-old, well, it's true, a 20 or 30-year-old has far less to remember than somebody 50 to 90 years old. So just try to focus on what you remember. Because a lot of times people say, I keep forgetting certain things. I say, well, within reason, that everybody is, but particularly if you're trying to remember something that happened 40 years ago. And then also it's a time to develop whatever spiritual outlook, moral development you have in direction. This is that time of life. And then I think you want to do good and make the world better before you leave it, as you realize you will not always be on the planet in your normal form, okay? And then you want to focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. That's another important thing. It's remembering, again, as I mentioned here, we want to look at the glass half full, not half empty. And then again with gusto, radiante, we're going to go look forward to the future. And that is what we really want to do. You take each day, carpe diem, you look at what you can do, you just look at what can you do, you get up, you're glad to have a day, and you just say, hey, I'm going to seize the day, I'm going to enjoy the day as much as I can, and I'm going to look to the future. When people look to the past, they don't have a very good present or future. So whatever condition, whatever's happening, you have to be thinking about future activities and just to keep you moving along. So again, we want life to, as we get older, to be an exciting voyage, and just and try to enjoy it as best we can. And
you mentioned you did something with your dad. You talked about interviewing him. Is there audio with that as well, or is it just all pages you wrote down?
We don't have the audio. What we did it, and then it was we did this 1972-73, and we don't have the audio, but we do have all the written, the written components of it from all his experiences. First coming, seeing Ellis Island, coming in, working, having nothing, going forward, being a business person, all that his dad did. The early death of his dad, just what it had health-wise, working in the mines, doing things that he did. And it's,
That's a book, man. You need to write a book. This should be in book form. We should be buying this. You should be on a tour right now.
Well, listen, I thought I hadn't even thought it, but it is kind of fascinating study. There's stories, if you realize that and also the Spanish flu. We talked about the end of World War I, this type thing, this just stories in World War II and all the business activities. And his father died in 1924. His great friends. I mean, I could go on and on and on for hours.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The thing I think we want to do. Everybody lives a life. Everybody learns things. I think older people, persons that have been around a long time, not just because I'm going to be 79 shortly, but I think what we want to do, we want to be, in a sense, cherishing, enjoying, and finding the lessons, the things that they've learned. And if we do that, not only does the older person enjoy sharing, but you can enjoy the road, the voyage. And I really do see that really, as we get older, it's an exciting voyage. It's not a time to be just giving up, and someone can say, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I say, well, all that's true. And I hear these things all the time. That's all true. However, what can you do? Your mind, what can you be working on? How can you be helpful to people? What can you do in life? And that's and find who are you? What do you see in the next stage? Are you a Christian? Are you Muslim? Whatever you might be. What do you see in the future for you? Do you believe it just ends? Do you believe all this happens by chance? Okay, or do you believe that you've had a purpose here? What is your purpose now? And you move forward, and it all of a sudden becomes much more exciting and really kind of fun. Life has to be enjoyed with gusto, the old Pepsi ad from long ago, there's only one time around, and I do believe that. So you try to be a good human being, you try to move forward, you try to learn, you try to help others, and you just want, when you pass on, that people could say, he really made a difference, or she really made a difference. And those are the things that you want to do, even if it may be a small circle or a large circle, but the main thing is who you interact with, whatever it is, you just want that to be something that had an impact. You did that. And if you look at life that way, how can I be helpful? What can I do? What's my role? And by golly, it can make for a really fun and exciting life, Mike. I mean, that's really true. Why not seize the day, do it, and move forward and enjoy it. Enjoy life.
And do it and make friends, make connections, be in a relationship with friends and family. Dr. John Braccio, as always, words of inspiration, man, oh man. Now, if you haven't got enough information and ammunition to take on that day today after Dr. John Braccio, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you. You've got to take that on. Hey, Doc, we appreciate it. And you can find the podcast of this interview here. You can find this at 1320 WILS. Revisit that. These are good information. This is good words to live by. Doc, we appreciate it. We'll see you again next Tuesday, all right?
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to take this break and come back here on your morning wake up, 1320 WILS.